I recently sat down with a man they call the lazy genius. He's not your typical academic buried in books. He's the kind of person who can recall obscure facts, complex formulas, and entire conversations from years ago, all while seemingly putting in zero effort. He agreed to answer 5 of my questions, but only if I kept his methods private. He believes this knowledge is too simple, too powerful, and frankly, too unfair for the average person to handle. But after hearing his answers, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. This information is the unfair advantage we've all been looking for. So I'm publishing it, and I'll probably regret this. Pay close attention to all 5 answers, but especially the last one. Question number 5 reveals the single biggest secret he uses to remember everything. It changes the entire game.
Most people believe that to remember everything, you need to constantly review, reread, and cram information into your brain. They spend hours highlighting and making detailed notes. What's the biggest mistake they're making when it comes to memory?
They're treating their brain like a hard drive, trying to fill it up. But the brain isn't a storage device, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows stronger, not by being stuffed, but by being challenged. The biggest mistake is passive consumption. Rereading notes gives you the illusion of learning, but it's like looking at a map and thinking you've traveled the world. True memory isn't about putting information in, it's about getting it out. The harder you work to retrieve it, the stronger the connection becomes. That's why most people forget so much so quickly, because they never truly engage the retrieval process.
So it's not about how much you put in, but how you get it out. That sounds like your first rule. What is it, and how does a lazy genius apply it?
My first rule is the forget to remember rule. It sounds counterintuitive, right? Most people fight forgetting. I embrace it. Forgetting isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's your brain clearing out the clutter. But it also creates a powerful signal. When you try to recall something and struggle a little, that struggle is the brain strengthening the neural pathways. The lazy application is simple. Instead of rereading, I test myself constantly. I don't just review, I actively try to recall. If I'm learning a new concept, I'll try to explain it out loud without looking at my notes. If I'm learning a new language, I'll try to recall words before checking a dictionary. And I use spaced repetition. I allow myself to forget a little bit before testing again. That slight struggle, that moment of almost forgetting, is where the real learning happens. It's the brain's way of saying, oh, this is important, I need to make this stick. It's the most efficient way to build long-term memory because you're only working when your brain actually needs the workout.
That's fascinating. So, a little forgetting actually helps you remember more. But what about the sheer volume of information? Names, dates, facts. It feels like a never-ending stream. How do you, a lazy genius, manage to store so much diverse data without it all becoming a jumbled mess?
That's where most people try to be too logical. They try to file information neatly, like books in a library. But the brain isn't a library, it's a carnival. It thrives on the bizarre, the emotional, the unexpected. My second rule is the connect the unexpected rule. The human brain is wired for stories and images, especially strange ones. If you want to remember something, don't just try to repeat it. Turn it into a mental movie, a ridiculous scene, or connect it to something completely unrelated. but vivid. The lazy application is to stop trying to be serious. If I need to remember a new name, say Mr. Peterson, I don't just repeat it. I imagine Mr. Peterson as a giant purple pet rock singing opera. The more absurd the image, the stickier the memory. If it's a list of items, I don't memorize them one by one. I create a mental journey, placing each item in a ridiculous way along a familiar path, like my house. The brain loves novelty and emotion. It's too lazy to remember boring facts, but it will never forget a giant purple singing pet rock. You're not forcing information in. You're making it so entertaining that your brain wants to remember it.
Okay, so you use active recall and create bizarre mental connections. But what about deep understanding? It's one thing to remember a fact, but it's another to truly comprehend a complex subject. How do you ensure the knowledge is not just stored, but fully integrated and understood?
That's the final piece of the puzzle. Many people can recall facts, but can't explain the concepts behind them. They have a dictionary in their head, but they can't write a sentence. My third and final rule is the teach to master rule. The ultimate test of knowledge isn't what you can remember. It's what you can clearly explain to someone else. The most efficient way to learn isn't to consume more, but to prepare to produce. The lazy application is this. After I learn something, I immediately try to explain it in the simplest terms possible. I don't need a real student. I explained it to a wall, to my cat, or just out loud to myself. This act of verbalizing and simplifying forces my brain to confront the parts I don't actually understand. You instantly discover the gaps in your logic. It's the ultimate lazy hack because it outsources the hard work of finding your weaknesses. You don't have to guess where you're confused. The process of teaching reveals it to you instantly and without mercy. Most people think learning is a private activity. I make it a performance, even if the audience is imaginary. It's the fastest path from knowing something to truly understanding it.
This has been incredibly insightful. Your rules are truly counterintuitive and powerful. So for my final and most important question, after all these techniques, the forget to remember rule, connect the unexpected, and teach to master, what is the single most powerful ultimate secret you use to remember everything? What is the true cheat code that ties it all together?
This is the secret that most people miss because they're too busy trying to remember more. The ultimate cheat code isn't about a technique for remembering. It's about a technique for forgetting. The brain is not designed to remember everything. It's designed to remember what's important for survival and reproduction. And in the modern world, that translates to what's relevant and emotionally charged. The real secret to remembering everything is to ruthlessly, deliberately, and strategically forget almost everything else. My alternate rule, the one that makes all the others work, is to filter for significance. I don't try to remember every detail of every meeting, every article, every conversation. I actively decide what is truly significant to my goals, my values, my long-term vision. And then, and only then, do I apply my lazy memory techniques to that filtered information. Everything else, I let it go. I trust that if it's truly important, it will either come up again or my system for finding information will retrieve it. The brain has limited bandwidth. If you fill it with noise, you won't have space for the signals.
The true genius isn't in remembering everything, it's in knowing what not to remember and then focusing all your power on the few things that truly matter. It's the ultimate act of lazy efficiency, doing less, remembering less to achieve more.
There you have it. The system is simple, lazy, and it goes against everything you've ever been told about memory. That's why it works. If this knowledge helps you, do me a favor and like this video so the algorithm shares it with others who need it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next unfair advantage. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me, who should I interrogate next? A lazy athlete? A lazy CEO? You decide. See you in the next video.